All right, I think we're live now, Kasey.
Hello, everybody. Can you see us?
Yes. LOL, fail on the countdown. All right, so hey, everybody, guys. Welcome back to Violence Dynamics, the interview split screen with these two handsome faces. I can't do anything to stop Kasey from doing that, so I apologize, guys.
Okay.
We are. Go ahead, Kasey.
No. So again, live but time loop. So I want to be able to see the comments, and so I got it on my screen, and it's weird watching my face move not to the. It's like a kung fu movie. So I'm gonna say, look up here. I'll be distracted. Oh yeah.
Like watching.
Oh, that's the first time I got the creep face myself. So we're gonna ease back on that a little bit. That's no one. As fun as it is to do, there's one left. No one wants to see this at home.
No, not really. Not on a Monday. It's too early in the week for that. All right, so I asked and I got a whole bunch of Batman trivia. And a word of warning, I am not as up to Batman as you are. So I apologize in advance. I don't know nearly as many of these as you will. So are you ready?
Hopefully I know some. Hopefully I don't look like a ding-dong. Bring the pain. Do it.
All right, here we go. So in the comics at the beginning, what happened to the gun that was used to kill Batman's parents?
Wow. Best I can recall, I think Joe Chill chucked that into a sewer grate. That's the first thing that bumps into my head. Anywhere in the
so now, to be fair, the answers that I'm given were given by the people that gave me the questions, so I'm relying on them for accuracy. Batman actually used that gun in the first comics to fight crime with it.
Oh, all right. Cool. I did not know that was Joe's. Cool.
I didn't know either.
Over
one.
Do we have like a voter friend or a top, multiple choice?
I don't know. Maybe if Randy can jump in. I don't know who else is going to help you with this one. So.
Well, I need someone that knows about Batman, though.
That would be a problem. That I can't help you there. All right. So number 2. In what Justice League storyline? So they went a little afield with Justice League.
Okay.
Did Batman and Wonder Woman share a kiss?
Oh, okay. Justice League.
It's a little off.
I'm just trying to think. Really, the only Justice League storylines that I'm super familiar with are heavily Batman influenced. So I will throw out a guess, and I will say the Tower of Babel storyline.
Okay, so I've got the Obsidian Age.
Yeah, no idea what that is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. It's from Joe Kelly's Justice League era. That's all I got. All right, let's see. What do we get next? What is Alfred's real last name? It's not Pennyworth. Bonus points. Why did he change it?
And we talked about this before we went live. This is one of the questions that's on the trivia game that we play all the time.
Oh, is it?
I'm dying. I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. It's got a dog reference.
Schnauzer?
No, okay.
No.
Alfred Beagle.
Yes.
And it says he retired from the British Army. He served as a field medic. After making too many enemies, he changed his identity and took a job with the Wayne family.
Okay. Man, these guys went deep cuts.
They went really deep cuts. So the next one I almost got, so I figured you're definitely going to get. Which 4 villains were previously staff members at Arkham Asylum?
Okay, I would guess Dr. Hugo Strange.
Check.
Harleen Quinzel, a.k.a. Harley Quinn, is guys.
Check.
4. I guess in some versions of it, Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow.
That's 3 out of 4.
All right. So, who else?
The last one I'd never even heard of. So
the only thing I could think of is like the guy who became Lockup, and he's like a security.
Yes, Lockup is number 4. There we are. Okay, no, that was pretty good. I'd never even heard of Lockup. So next one, how many iterations of Clayface have there been?
All right, at least by the time that the trivia game I played with my daughters was written, there was at least 4.
Okay, this one has 9, so I don't know.
Oh my goodness! All right, so there might be
a lot of Clayfaces.
I think this was written like early, like 2010. So in the last 8 years, they doubled.
Okay. Been very busy.
Yeah.
Who was the first villain that Batgirl ever defeated?
Pondering face. Is it a female villain?
I don't have gender on this one. Sorry. Did you just assume the villain's gender?
Yes. In 1960s, you could assume a gender. Because, like, it's like if it was Catwoman, right?
That'll be okay.
Let's throw it there. I'm going to say Catwoman. I bet they would do a woman-on-woman battle.
We've got Killer Moth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't get nothing. In the storyline As the Crow Flies, what's the name of the monster that the Scarecrow turns into?
I have that too. I don't know.
The Scare Beast.
All right.
The next one, I have no idea if it's from the comics or from actual, like, real life, the writers. Okay. Where did Gotham City get its name from?
Oh, sure. That was a jewelry store in New York City.
Yep, Gotham Jewelers. Bingo. The next one seems like a deep cut to me, but maybe it's common knowledge in Batman trivia. I'm not sure. Who are the 3 founding members of Gotham City?
Oh, no, I don't know. That's from like the Court of Owls deal with like the history of Gotham. I have no idea. So, 3 founding families or 3 founding.
There's names here, but I'll take families too.
Is the Waynes one?
The Wayne is one of them. Alan Wayne, it says.
All right.
One of them, I recognize the next last name.
Cobblepot's?
Yes, Theodore Cobblepot.
All right. I have no idea for the third.
Edward Elliot. Don't know who that is.
Oh, sure, that would make sense. Yep. Okay.
All right, let's see. Which Batman villain was immune to the Black Lantern Corps effects?
So, if I recall, the Black Lantern Corps was like death zombie stuff. So, what Batman villain would be immune to things like that? Maybe because they're already... The only thing that popped into my head is because he's been dead and back would be Ra's al Ghul. Was he immune to it?
It says Scarecrow.
Oh, okay. Sure.
It's something to do with fear?
So if the black is fear and he's... Right.
How many Jokers are there?
Well, that is controversial, but there has been revealed that there's a possibility of at least 3 Jokers.
And that's the number I have here is 3. Who or what was the identity of Judas? And I have both an original suspect and the actual person, whoever Judas was.
Geez, the only Judas that's kicking into my brain would be from the Judas Contract, which is a Teen Titans storyline, and that ended up being Terra. But that's the only thing that I can. A Batman storyline with Judas isn't clicking in my brain.
So I've got Alfred was suspected, but it turns out Judas was an identity or alter ego that Two-Face took for a little while.
Okay. No, nothing.
The last one, just to be clear, this is all the answer. Okay. So I'm going to go with, I don't know. Can you explain who Barbados is in the Batman mythos?
Nope. we just I haven't even heard of Barbados.
In the earliest days, this sounds like reads like a Thor family line. In the earliest days of existence, before the multiverse became reality, blah, 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 blah. This is long. I'm going to send it to you later for extra bonus. Yeah. It's literally a very, very long paragraph.
Okay.
I would have accepted almost anything. All right.
Wait,
so moving on.
As is past precedence, I will go with Calendar Man.
I think Calendar Man. Randy, can you get a check on that? Is Calendar Man the correct answer?
So all when you're stumped, it's either Calendar Man, Wolf Brando, or the Toy Wonder, because the Toy Wonder is Robin from the year 3000 because he's a robot.
That's right. That's right. All right. So last week I started with a favorite quote that I had for Randy's. Yours is a little bit different. I frequently talk about the idea of taking off one hat and putting on another hat. Like you go from, in your case, being a police officer to being a judo instructor to being a dad of 3 daughters.
Sure.
And I'm going to make a guess. Yeah, I know you've done a little bit of writing about this, but the Kasey motherfucking Keckeisen, day 0 Viodai Prime, the first time I met you, I was like, okay, that's a very specific moniker. So can you go into that a little bit? What that, and I didn't, this is the question I didn't prep you with ahead of time.
Okay.
What does that do for you, or what does it let you to do to like kind of take off your regular hat and put on that hat?
Oh, well, great question. Yeah, so a lot of times, especially like in teaching, I'll use that almost as self-depreciating, about like teasing myself, like you would call a fat guy skinny or a tiny guy giant or whatever. I'll use that self-depreciatingly to remind myself that I'm nothing special. The flip side of that is, I guess it's almost how I say, for a lot of stuff that I do professionally, if you don't have a certain swagger, or you don't have enough confidence to where you're almost arrogant about it, you probably shouldn't be in that field, and you don't have the skill set requisite to make sure that you and the people that depend on you come home. And so I guess, like you mentioned, a hat are almost like a face or a mask. Kasey motherfucking Keckeisen is the person I need to be, especially the people I need to be in front of, like a team I would lead, or a team, or of other officers going into a situation that, and I can play, or I guess I can play the role of that, I guess who I'd want to be, right? So the reason that this guy spends his time is,
Casey?
oh, sorry, I just heard it sound like a garbage truck went by, so maybe I so that way this guy that spends his time in the gym and in the dojo and shoots, that usually doesn't brag about it. This is his time to brag about it, because these guys need you to be that guy. And I guess there's always, anytime that I guess I have like questions, I ask folks like a poser test or litmus test. And the flip side of that is there's questions that you ask people aren't posers. And one of those is, especially like for like the tactical side of law enforcement operations, is if your wife or your kid or someone you care desperately about was being held hostage, what 5 guys would you want to kick the door with you? And Kasey fucking Keckeisen is the guy that's on that list. So I guess that's kind of the hat that I have to put on. That's the person that I want to be when I'm doing that. And then I guess when I teach to it is, you can take the job seriously, or you can take yourself seriously, but you can't do both, right? So there's times where I have to use that persona, for lack of a better term, to I guess highlight the negatives of someone who would be stuck in that all the time, right? So it's you can put that on, you can't be that guy all the time. And if you are that guy all the time, it's because you're wearing that mask falsely. If that makes sense what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of switching on and off the roles, right?
Sure. Yep.
Cool. So last week, Randy was talking about some of the different, well, he yelled at me for using the term FAQ.
I'm old too. That's fine.
I know. So, okay, I'm going to turn it on you and say,
okay,
you are a lot of the driving force behind some of the heavier code name geekdom part stuff. So, 3 big things. Can you explain OGs?
Okay. So OG, for, again, we do a lot of failing up and then retro engineering things to make sense going forward. And then once we've seen how things have been successful, taking steps to, I guess, purposefully succeed. So with OGs, because you got to imagine when we started, it was real small. It was like 5 people showed up, and then one of the watermarks, and when I knew this was going to be something special, is then when we had this thing again, those same 5 people showed up, and they each brought another person themselves, right? Gotcha. So they enjoyed the product so much that they wanted it again, and they did word of mouth advertising for us that they brought more people. So the people that came back, or the second time, the first people there were the original people that came there, the original gangsters. And because I'm a white kid from Minnesota, I like to use gangsta slang terms. So that was OGs, right? Because they'd seen this before. And then since the very beginning, but pushing forward, we always want to push the product, and we don't want to crash against the law of diminishing returns. And so, if someone is willing to come back the next year, we want them to get that stuff that they enjoyed the first year, but we want to make it a new and unique experience every time. So as that progressed, there were certain things that I guess added on benefits that only people who had been there before could get. And then we don't want to, I don't want to be, I guess, exclusive or like make other people feel less than. But so we had to explain, all right, this guy's is available to go to this class because he's an OG. He's done these things before. And I think Rory likes to use the term old guard because it's got a similar, but I guess more noble meaning to it. And none of us lived in South Central Los Angeles in the late 80s, early 90s. And since then, right, purposely or consciously succeeding, we've been working on things like through life dynamics and like Bio Tribe, in fully embracing the social aspects of this group of people that come together to train. We've been OG can also mean Odin's Gungear. And that's a whole nother level of nerd I can talk about if you want me to.
I'm getting to that. Don't worry.
Okay.
So, then real quick, this is kind of an easy jump off then. Code names. Where did that start from?
Sure. Well, in case you haven't known, I always use this joke to kind of explain this. It's a line that's been around forever, but it's really famous from the Usual Suspects. And the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the world that he didn't exist. And the greatest trick Kasey motherfucking Keckeisen ever pulled was to trick grown-ass adults into playing G.I. Joe with him on a regular basis, maybe paying them some money for the opportunity to do it. And so, generally, and again, it grew organically. Then it got to be kind of a game that Rory and I played, and we're not always the nicest people.
What do you mean?
We're not necessarily the nicest people when we're together and consume alcohol, right? So like if you have like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder, and if either of us are looking for the other to be the moral compass, it's just like four devils. Like, all right.
I was gonna say just one very heavily weighted shoulder.
Like Quasimodo. Excuse me. But so again, it started really organically. So you had a small group of people, and again, the first violence dynamics were like at least 9 days long. So you're with these people grinding all the time, and because it was that small, like we'd be together all but 24 hours. So we'd train all day, then we'd go eat, and then because it's five folks, and the kind of the shtick that I say in the beginning of the lives, we'd all come and hang out in my garage, and we'd have a bonfire and along these lines. So in the course of being together. 9 days, having physical activity with each other and consuming beverages and tobacco, you're going to do stuff that kind of marks you apart from somebody else, right? So you're going to earn your nickname, right? So like you tripped and almost burned yourself in the fire pit, then you're Tripsy or your fireballs or it's back to the kind of the OG thing then is OGs had a name, right? And it's cements the social aspects or the tribal stuff of it is everyone else knows that I'm an OG because these people, I have a name besides what my parents gave me that's this thing. As things grew, right, it was more difficult to do it organically because there's more people. So because in Minneapolis the last day is generally the what's the word I'm looking for? The mall walk, the people watching exercise. And so then, because again, you're grinding out. We're working the material. We're doing our after action reports. We have a little social time with each other. Sometimes we decide we're going to have in-depth life conversations at midnight, and they get done at 6, and we got to be wheels up at 6:30. So it gets to be a long week, and then it's like afternoon on the last day, and you're like, oh shit, we didn't didn't do anything that made me think of a name. And it got to the point where, like, if you don't get a name, it's not because we don't like you, but if we don't give you a name, you don't know that we don't like you. So, like, oh, I'm the only person here that didn't get a name. So again, we're short on time, and maybe we're not the nicest people in the world. And now it's been a week, so now it's like, you know, this guy's I don't know, long nose, and this guy's swipe left, guy's never kissed a girl, and then it's like, but it's then the pendulum kind of swings the other way, right? So it's like, oh my god, these guys that I spent money to train with, that I looked up to, they gave me this shit name. I must be a shit person. Like, and it was, again, so we've had a lot of unconscious success. We've had some unconscious failure too.
Yep.
So retrospectively, that's given a lot more weight. And just like I said before, maybe when Rory and I are together, we bond by being mean to other people. Sometimes I don't know, I'm not proud of it, but it is. But we've tasked Myron with being like our adjunct
consciousness,
right? Yeah. So it's like, if you don't have enough storage space on your computer, sometimes you have like a zip drive that's there. So yeah. Myron is our adjunct conscious. So like, hey, why don't we call or like, so my good friend Shane, who helps me run the dojo. Yeah. Let's if you didn't know what his original codename is, let's see if you can guess it. So he's not the tallest guy in the world, and so he's never gonna slam dunk a basketball. And his name is Shane Murphy. So he's Irish. So what do you think his nickname became?
Something to do with a pot of gold chasing little fella.
He's a fucking leprechaun, right? He's short and Irish, right? But if we had Myron back at that time, he'd be like, "Hey, let's pump the brakes, Dick. Maybe he doesn't want to be viewed by his one physical characteristic that was the first thing you notice. So maybe we could have a nickname for him that accentuates a positive thing that we know about him, like." Well, if you're going to use common sense and logic and kind of
it's exhausting
nerd game that we play to kind of cement the lessons that we talk about in the conference. Well, I guess we're not going to argue with you, Myron. I'm nice to people.
He's Canadian. That's his job.
I wonder, in like alternate universe, if I had abs, would I be nice to people? Like, would I take like all the fat rage that I take out?
No.
Argument. Why don't you talk to my ninth ab? What?
I saw you guys play with this a little bit in the last one because you took the other pieces, Odin and Fenrir, but you also took and applied it to the code names, and it seems like a lot of people owned it, which is cool.
Yeah. Yep. So again, in retrospect, we did some psychological damage to folks. So we took that and I was like, wait, let's an old ninja thing. How do you turn a weakness into a strength? And that's kind of become the focus on. All right, if people are going to put this weight on the names, even though it's just a goofball game that we played drinking at the table in my garage the night before. Let's take this seriously, and let's tag this back into the lessons that we've played with all through the conference.
Right, gotcha. Conference originally, like, and I know you've done the history before. What's the short version on how the conference came together? Like the shortest version.
Sure. Let's see if I can do the Reader's Digest for you. So
it's an old reference.
I can't start the story without mentioning. Oh my gosh! Here, let me get some caffeine to get my brain started. Eisler, holy crap, Barry Eisler. So when I dislocated my ankle and broke my leg, and I was in bed for long and sad that I couldn't train and mad that I got my leg broke, but with that illegal technique. And so anyways, but to kind of pass the time,
bitter.
Gave me a series of books by Barry Eisler. He's like, hey, you'll like this. It's about a judo guy that kills folks. Like, I like judo. I like assassin stories. So cool. And I loved it. It was a great book, the Rain series. And I liked it so much that I read every page, including, like the end, special thanks to, and it was special thanks to Mark the Animal McYoung and the Animal List. And I was like, why is he thanking this guy? I'm a tactical judo guy. You don't even know me. You should be thanking me. I looked up Mark McYoung's No Nonsense Self Defense. Like, oh, okay, maybe this guy knows a thing about a thing, and found out he's kind of one of the forerunners of martial art is not self defense. Martial art is not personal protection. He's one of the first to kind of stand up and say, "Hey, if you just have," and I'm teasing Taekwondo, no offense to Taekwondo. If you just have a traditional Taekwondo school and you add the words for self-defense at the end, and the only difference is maybe you take off your do box, you have a t-shirt and your gi pants, that doesn't make it for self-defense. It's Taekwondo without. And time he was doing this, he got a lot of heat. How dare you say this? So, well, right about the time I was coming across this information and reading some of his books and reading his website, was right when social media was getting to the point where if you wanted to talk to someone that's relatively famous, you could just look him up there. So one day I looked him up and I saw that he had a Facebook account, and I sent him a message. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm not weirdo creep guy. I'm a cop from the city, and I work with this team. Little creep guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a weirdo, just." And like I like what I've read from your things, and I'm in the same boat where I come from a traditional background, but my profession is to apply these things in a practical manner. And we started talking, and right about that time, him and Rory were working together on what evolved into conflict communications, but at the time was called the Thug Whispers. So this at the same time now, imagine, so gather around, kids, for history lesson. There was a time when I sent Rory a message on the internet. So you didn't have to.
I have an announcement about that. He'll be on Friday with this.
Oh, okay. Let me just eat that crow. Oh, no.
Well, in theory, let's see if it happens.
Yeah. Well, let me. Truth only hurts when it should.
Yeah.
So, but Roy and I started talking, and Mark and I started talking, and we'd all talk together, and it got to the point where they wanted to get post credit, so peace officer standard and training credit for their class. And in order to do that, you need someone like a police officer, a training coordinator who's connected through post in a state to do the paperwork and make that go. Because you need a police department to sponsor you. So they're like, "Hey, knucklehead, you want to host a seminar?" I'm like, okay, well, I'm a poorly paid public servant, so I probably can't fly anywhere to hang out with you guys. But I do have these resources available. So if you guys want to fly to Minnesota, I'm more than happy to make this happen. And so the first time through, it was like a Friday class was primarily for law enforcement. What was the Thug Whisperers? And then because we're all martial arts nerds, we hung out Saturday at my dojo, and we did different. So Rory and I sword fought, and we did how sword applications work for empty hand. And Mark did a lot of like small power generation and how that applies to the different arts that you had. So we just kind of hung out that weekend, and like, hey, doing the academic stuff and doing the physical stuff was really fun. What if instead of having academic stuff kind of just for cops and physical stuff just for martial arts nerds, what if we came back and did this again, but kind of stack these things on top of each other, and it's open for law enforcement and it's open to civilians, and see how that goes. So then the next time we got together, and I think that was the first time that like Randy and Myron came, was the first time that we did it as a violence dynamic seminar. And that's again, but it ended up being like 9 days, because there's these are all the things we want to do for physical things. So these are all the things we want to do for academic things. And this is how I think we had the best way to stack it. And we used a lot of Rory's 2-day Chiron defensive tactics kind of as a skeleton, and then fit the other things in there. And again, kind of unconscious success. It was like, oh, wow, geez, that was really cool. Maybe if we tweaked it a little bit like this. And so for the next couple of years, it was like that. And then as Randy got more involved, and Randy has a much more clear head for business, and he started as not part of the production team, but as, I guess, our test or our demographic that we're going after. He was like, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Very few people can commit to 9 days, right? You guys are insane and you're addicted to training. You love this. the people that need this training the most can't take 2 weeks off of their regular desk job because their regular job doesn't involve violence on a regular basis. They're regular folks that have a concern about violence. And so then, okay, if we're going to take this 9 day of everything that we love to play with and squish it down to 4 days, how we do that? And it made the product much sharper, and it made the instruction real sharper because you had to prioritize. If I only had 4 days with somebody in their entire life, and I had to send them out behind enemy lines where the evil Fenrir is, what skills would I want them to have? What knowledge would I want them to have? And what, communication abilities would I want them to have? And then that's kind of our force going forward. And then that's where what we have now. And then thus the Powerpuff Girls were born.
So that's where you end up with the tight 4, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
And the flip side, I'm sorry, just off.
No.
One of the things I'm super excited about now, and again, because of the help that the expanded team, and because with you and your wife helping us out with this, is pushing forward to original content for the website. So we've condensed it down to that tight 4, but now we can expand back to what we want to play with, because we're not asking people to pay more flight time or more hotel time or to pay for more expensive seminars. Like, all right, I'm really excited about this topic. This is where it fits into the greater idea of what we have. And if you want to play with it, cool, click this button. If not, stick with the Type 4.
I think that's going to be when you get here in a couple of weeks in Boston. I think that's going to be like we're going to have to record some stuff, but somebody's going to be on the side with a little fishing line with a whiskey bottle, just like no, you can't, not yet.
So close.
Randy, that's going to be your job. You're going to have to take care of that. Speaking of Boston, what are you? I mean, I know you get excited about every Viadai conference. What are you looking forward to Boston? If there's anything in particular?
Lots of things. So one, I've never been to Boston at all, so I'm excited to see this historical city. I'm super excited to see Metro West Jiu-Jitsu. I've seen video of it. I'm looking at it now. I've heard nothing but good things. So I'm excited to actually get there and play. I guess so that's kind of Kasey personal things. So masks and hat, Viadai instructor hat. What I'm excited about most for Boston is every place that we go, the day zero when we have a day zero, each thing has a unique flavor, right? So we take the best advantages of our environment. So I figured the best advantage we have in the environment in Boston is the fantastic school that you have. So we're going to be playing at that school. And then the unique combination of violence dynamics instructors. This isn't always the same, right? It's a revolving circus. Right. Sometimes you get some folks, sometimes you don't get, or you get other folks. And so we have your location, we have myself, Tammy, Randy, and Rory. So that's kind of, all right, so this is the building material that I have. We talked about it before with OGs, because OGs are who come back to day zero. What is a value add? What is something we can provide in Boston that they haven't seen in Minneapolis, or they haven't seen in DC or Oakland or Vancouver or Edmonton? And so with this, and again, it's only for OGs, and OGs get to do this because they've been through the seminar before, or the conference before. In the conference, the primary drill that we use to return to play and to kind of allow different parts of our brain to play with the information we've been dealing with is the one-step drill. And the one-step drill is fantastic. That's why we use it. But like any drill, it's got its strengths and its weaknesses. So the vibe of day zero are what are other drills that you can play with that, if you look at it a Venn diagram, that you can stack on top of your one-step drills that cover the weaknesses of the one-step drills, and then how the one-step drill can cover the weakness of these other drills. And the whole violence dynamics curriculum is really based on the structure of Rory's book, Facing Violence. And not quite every topic of those 7 things has a class of itself. So again, that's as we push the program forward, those are things we can play with. Then, so one of those things. I mean, we work the physicality of physical confrontation through lots of different things, but with day zero this time, we really want to take a hard look at the fight, right? The physical aspects of that, and then break that into subcategories. So at day zero, we'll be working strikes. We'll be working
ground weapons.
The way that I have it in my mind is from outside and in as you get closer to folks. So we'll be working strikes, and then we'll be working joint locks, and then we'll be working strangles and takedowns and groundwork. Then we're working weapons, because I think that's kind of, no matter what art you come from, or if you don't come from an art at all, that's kind of the entire spectrum, the entire panoply of physical confrontation. And with each one of those subjects, so we'll spend like an hour or so on each of those, and every one of the instructor is going to provide a in that particular subgenre that is not the one-step drill, but can be used to strengthen the weaknesses of a one-step drill.
Cool. The next question that we have is like things you're excited about for Viodai in the future. I'm guessing day zero, something we talked about offline. I don't know how far afield, but I know the next prime, you're talking about an OG track. This might be sort of a step towards that direction.
Okay.
Day zero, is that kind of what you're thinking about for now?
Yep. And okay. So no matter how many people show up to something, we can always have a day zero. For Violence Dynamics to have an OG track throughout the rest of the conference, we have to meet particular attendance goals. And so let's say, for the case of argument, we have 15 people show up. We can't have 10 people disappear to go with a different instructor, and the primary instructor has 5 people. So when we meet our goals, and I think we've said it basically, anything above 30 students, then we can start having OG tracks. And with that, there's certain OG tracks that I want to do. But yeah, a lot of stuff that we're doing, day zero always has 2 purposes. Day zero is always an opportunity for the instructors to experiment and work with new material, and to play with people that we're confident aren't going to hurt themselves, and they know us and they know what we expect from them. And the second of that is to, again, that value add, to provide things they've never seen before. Right. But as we get to play with that, and again, we are meticulous about meeting after the training and having after action reviews. What went well? What would you do different? Even for the things that went well, if you had to do it again, how would you do it over? That kind of always pushing the product forward. Ideas develop, and like, hey, you know what? This would be a great class. We have our core curriculum, and that mandatory. We have to get that. But if guys have had this core curriculum 2-3 times, we can set it up where they can choose. All right, you can go to this class again because you really like this class, or we have this alternate OG class that's available because you've been here before and you've received the fundamental material that you need in order for this OG class to make sense.
Cool.
I realized I talked a lot without pausing. Did that in any way answer the question you asked?
Yes, yeah, it did. Specifically the question. We're, again, a little off the script, but I don't know, just something I thought might be kind of cool. I don't know if there's any other. So we have the fleshing out of the website, volume 2, basically.
Sure.
We've got potential for future OG tracks. Anything else that you're specifically excited about for the future of Viodai in general?
Yeah, so those 2 things I'm super excited about. I'm also excited for, so with Tammy working her 500 project, and how that interweaves with Violence Dynamics, and how that interweaves with Odin and playing with Elvitier. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about having that as a potential OG course. That's right now. Other than that, again, that's my Violence Dynamics instructor hat. I guess as just Kasey hat, one of the things I'm really excited about for the future of Violence Dynamics is we're very much a participation event. And so, like, if you looked at us on paper, you might not be, like, okay, I can take it or leave it. Or, and we're getting more buy-in with, you get to know our personalities with things like this. But I'm super proud of I don't even know if I want to use the word recidivism, right? But I'm really proud with the rate of people that have, if you come and participate, we have like right around, I want to say high 70s, almost to 80% people that have ever done a violence dynamics conference come back and do several more violence dynamics conferences.
Well, given the fact that it was really called Thug Whisperers, recidivism might be the right word.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. So we grow, right?
Randy's somewhere. Randy's screaming, "Repeat customers, repeat customers!" But
I could, my hair raised. I could feel his anger on me. Repeat customers, not repeat criminals. But with there's as this expands, right? So we want to have this growth. We want to get to more people, but I still want to kind of have some of the things, the intrinsic things that we had when we were small. So what I'm really excited about is something like we're with Boston, right? So this is the first time we are at Boston, but I see Boston because of our working relationship and just the buy-in and how much people are excited about it there. Is Boston almost becoming like a spoke in a circuit of places that have violence dynamics every year? So what I'm excited about is as I progress from police officer to monk who gets to travel the world, sipping scotch and wrestling my buddies, is by the time I'm prepared to make that quantum leap, that it's set up. So we will always be in Boston. We'll always go to DC. So it'd be nice to almost have like a ring. It'd be nice to be someplace in Florida, someplace in Texas. We go to Oakland quite a bit. It'd be nice to maybe right around Narnia where Rory lives, and then up in Canada, right? And I'm excited about more extra continental, right? So we're in Old World in Bulgaria, and a personal goal for me is I always wanted to train in Japan. Life things never made it so I could go to Japan. So instead of me going to train with somebody else, getting somebody else to pay me to go to Japan is a life goal. So that's kind of
as the other jiu-jitsu guy, I'm coming to that one. That's happening. I'm coming to that one.
Yeah. So I think once we establish, again, when things are more concrete, when we have a solid foundation, we're cranking it on our website, we have these places we go to every year, then that's when we can push to that next, kind of like, your beloved Marvel universe, right? So now we could push to that next phase so that we could have like an Infinity War and bring all these things together.
The Avengers coming together.
I almost gave a bunch of spoilers, except for
no spoilers. No spoilers. Quick change.
Sure.
So your 3 awesome daughters.
Yep.
My first exposure to them was as Lise was making tacos. Your daughters were hunting Myron. It was awesome to watch. They were setting them up in a pincher maneuver ambush. It was fantastic. Are they a particular inspiration for you, like moving forward in Viodai and your own job and your judo, your future as like an instructor in general?
Sure. Yep. I'm very blessed on having them in my life and how much better of a person they've made me and how much they've helped me grow. And a lot of times they're a very solid link, a very solid chain in a positive use of the term to the real world, right? So it would be very easy for me to split into full time. I'm Kasey fucking Keckeisen, and these cheapo don't understand and fuck the world. Then it's
one bad day, Red. One bad day.
Poke me in the eye or something, right? So it's they've always made me better, I guess. How that relates to violence dynamics, or what how would those merge, or what my thoughts on, or that is, as I mentioned before, I'm really excited about that, helping or working with and being allowed to be part of the hashtag 500 and the Elvetier stuff, in that you become a unique kind of feminist when you have 3 daughters, right? And so I never want them to be made felt less than. I never want them to expect to be a victim. I want them to embrace just how kick-ass they are, and that should be the standard. That should be normal. That shouldn't be this rare, weird thing that young women embracing their power happens because they have a professional educator mom and a tactical team leader dad. This is stuff that should be available to every young woman. Mm-hmm. How that affects other stuff like through violence dynamics or even through the judo. A lot of times when I put a lesson plan together or when I'm playing with whatever we're doing in the school that day, is I try to envision if there was like a bizarro world or evil version of Kasey that was trying to do horrible things to Lauren, what could Lauren do to stop that? Right. So it's easy for me to go to a judo class because I'm a 240-pound dude that's been doing this for 30 years. And okay, we're doing all WWE choke slams today. And like, oh, hey, Rachel, who's a 120-pound woman, how come you suck at choke slams? Like, no, because it doesn't make any sense. So if Lauren couldn't do it to me, maybe I don't need to spend a whole lot of time teaching it to other folks. So we kind of focus on what is Lauren physically capable of doing to me. And then it kind of forces a principle-based approach. It kind of forces a results backwards type of thing. So what is our goal with this? And how would we go about doing this? And so it doesn't matter if it's textbook Kodokan, if our end goal is to put another human on the ground, what is the most efficient way, not to do this in general, but how is it the most efficient way for you specifically, the student I'm talking to put this person on the ground? And the principles are going to be the same, but the way it looks or the actual application is going to be different from person to person.
And Lauren is your metric for that typically?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's cool. Which I could have a specific person.
She will be taller than me and she's strong. So I'd have to change like, how would your average 14-year-old young woman do this instead of how would this Amazon that lives in my house do this?
Sydney's got to be catching up.
Oh yeah. Sydney's going to be the tallest of all of them. It was weird. So it's May. So it's finally like spring in Minnesota. And so in Minnesota, there's going to be a time where you have to pack up all your winter stuff and put that in wherever you store it, and then take from where you store it to your spring stuff.
Yep.
So, I was teasing her just the other night. So this happened, and she had like last spring. It was like a sleeping dress that like went down to her ankles, and you know what I'm talking about. So I don't know, it's got like some sort of like ballet.
Yeah.
So it's like a t-shirt, but it goes down to your ankles, right? Yeah. I don't know, nightgown sounds sexy. So it's a sleeping dress for a little kid. But it went down to her ankles when she put it away last, winter. Now this spring, and she put it on, and it was like a mini skirt. Like she had grown. It's like, go put on some pajamas, weirdo. You can't wear that anymore. She's like, what are you like, because I can see your underwear, you freak. You grew 6 inches.
You've now outgrown that officially. It gets retired, or dad says no.
Yeah, well, no, now it's Gigi's.
Yeah, there you go.
Spare daughters, so you have spare parts and equipment.
That helps. Just in case you lose one, you got backup. It's replacement. Yeah.
Basic tactical operations. 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Redundancy is helpful. Yeah.
Yep.
Last official formal question, and then I have a bonus because we're going longer than we're supposed to.
Yeah. Okay.
The idea of police officers are not always known for their exercise regimen universally.
Okay.
You buck that trend and are hopefully leading others towards that. So physical culture is obviously extremely important to you.
Yep.
And you've made that, for those who don't know, there's a group here called Life Dynamics. It's about accountability. There's another group called Biotribe where people can share things they're working towards. So what is it about that appeals to you?
Oh, excellent question. Thanks. And first, let me give credit where credit is due. I've always first with my dad. My dad, Kasey history. I'm the youngest of 5 kids and a product of Irish Catholic birth control. And so the age gap between me and my next sibling is 12 years. So my parents are. What my parents to me would be like usually the age gap with somebody's grandparents. So, but you lead by example, right? And my dad used to be a real heavy smoker, and he was heavy, and his lung collapsed. And one time he was shoveling the sidewalk, and he about threw his back out, and then he's finally like, "Fuck this noise! I don't want to be this guy anymore," and started training. And but I just saw that as a reg. This is just how life is. He would wake up in the morning, and he'd be, before there's CrossFit and what do they call them, like whatever their powered bikes are, he'd be on that Airdyne kicking ass with that. And he'd always do his calisthenics all the time. And,
No. CrossFit invented exercise.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
That's right.
Myron, forgive me. But so that was just kind of set as the standard. It wasn't like a weird freak thing. It wasn't punishment. It was just a lifestyle. And then I come from a wrestling family, so that kind of grind became part of it. Other props I want to give before I cackle on about it is Stephen Jimmerfield. So if you've ever had the opportunity to play with Stephen Jimmerfield, he's the head of one-on-one control tactics. And so he's a police officer and just a hell of a. So the control tactics different from martial arts, but a hell of a martial artist before he ever did any of these control tactics. Where he's one of the few people in the world where, because I like to be UK anytime because you learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're one of the few people in the world where he's cranking on me, and it's just that weird kind of lizard brain, hair on the back of your neck, like, oh my god, this guy could just break me in half right now, and there's nothing in the world I could do to stop it. Like the only reason I'm going home tonight is because he allowed me to do it. But similar deal where he wasn't exactly what one would consider the pinnacle of physical fitness. And he said, F this noise. And so, and he went about it Batman-esque, very academically. So he had his department send him to Texas, where the Cooper Institute is. And so it's a very big sports medicine facility. And he became a Cooper instructor and led by example. And I don't want to overinflate his age, but he's got to be 70 plus, and he'll still run the warm-ups. And the warm-ups are basically his workout to torture every other human being in the room. But he sets that example is there's absolutely no excuse for a professional police officer to be in less physical condition than I am. I'm an old retired man, and he'll just dominate everything in there. So, but and his deal was you should be fitter when you retire than when you were hired. And so between him and my dad, kind of setting that in my mind, that's kind of where I've gone forward with that. And this should just be part of your life. It's nothing special. It shouldn't be a punishment. It's just if you can find a way to make this part of who you are, it enhances all parts of your life. And so I am now I call myself the senior team leader on the team because I am the only guy that came up with my crew that's still a shooter, right? So either they're retired, or they're in the incident command van, or they're pushing paper. There's an acronym to describe it. Former action guys. You don't say that out loud in 2018 because it sounds like a slur. But the reason I can do the things that I do is because I put that effort in. And the flip side of that is, even that if that's the original spark of inspiration, I get so much more benefit just in the quality of my life from doing these things than the abilities that gives me. And so, I tease with my daughters all the time is that if I didn't have the outlet of lifting heavy things over my head or choking my friends, I would be an unbearable human being. Right? And that's why, again, you tease there's lots of fat cops, because guess what? There's lots of fat cops. There's also lots of alcoholic cops. There's lots of, sadly enough, domestic abuse cops. And there's lots and it's, unless you've been in those shoes, and you've been in those shoes for a couple of decades, you don't realize the ongoing grind that has on mentality, and the physiological changes from the stress chemicals pumping into your blood all the time. And so if you don't have some sort of positive outlet for that, clearly negative things are going to happen. And so the original intent was, hey, if Jimmerfield can do this, I can do this. I'm going to be fitter when I retire than when I was hired. If you saw pictures of when I was hired, it's not that hard. But the
Potato Dad, I believe, was
and Potato Dad, or I got stung by a million bees. Fat. Their stingers were filled with fat. but just being able to deal with that stress, to burn it out. Sometimes I call it burning off the angries, right? And then I can come home and be a human being, because there's only a certain reservoir of patience, or a certain reservoir of emotional control that any human being has. And if that's all burnt out with the public, that we fuck the police and solve my lifeline problems in 5 minutes, that burns that off really fast. So if there's no way to kind of refill that reservoir, that makes for hard turns.
Cool.
Again, I'm talking a lot and we're going long, but with
okay.
the life dynamics portion of this, then, is just like I was mentioning with how would Lauren fight me, and personal protection is specific to the individual. Physical culture is specific to the individual as well. So I like lifting heavy things over my head and going for hikes with a weight vest on. That makes me feel good, and that fulfills the goals that I have for my professional use. That might not make sense to anybody else, but there's no reason why other aspects of physical culture can't be part of their job or part of their daily life. And so the life dynamics kind of idea, and again, giving props where props is due, this all kind of evolved off of some programming that Myron Casa did for us. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to talk about this without pimping him and pimping his gym. I always say it wrong. It's CrossFit Motion Labs. Is that right?
Movement. I thought it was Movement Lab.
See, I always say it wrong. Up in Edmonton. But basically the lines of are, take a hard look. What are your goals? And what do you need to achieve those goals? And taking those things that you need to achieve those goals and taking a look at your time management and plotting away. Okay, so now I can, you can't eat an elephant all at once. So you take bites, right? So plotting out, this is the bite of the elephant that I'm going to take every day. And then we use the website for accountability and kind of humble bragging as well. It's like, hey, I took this bite today. I took this bite today. I took this bite today. And then 6 months down the road, you get it, hey, on this day at Facebook, and you see this thing is like, oh, geez, I've eaten a quarter of the elephant since I started this.
Yeah, that's cool. You mentioned something, the last sort of bonus question I had. We're planning something for here in Boston. Yep. The Saturday night, we'll call it a barbecue. I don't know what the better word for it is. And the goal is to benefit a group called Blue Help.
Yeah. Yep.
That is certainly something some people should look up and to find out more about. Sure. But one of your requests was Kasey's Karaoke Corner, I believe, during the barbecue.
Yep. You are damn right.
I have nothing to do with that, just so you know.
Okay.
That'll be that's Allie's job to set up. Yeah, not mine. So Allie, get on that. My question for you, Kasey, is what will be the first karaoke song that you're going to sing?
I literally just changed because I've been thinking about it, right?
Of course you have.
And Batman beats gods when he has prep time, right? So I've been thinking about it. I was because with the kind of whole Odin theme and a story that maybe we'll get into a different time. But I am a huge fan of Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm known
You're going to try to hit that note?
I'll be picked when that happens, right? So I was thinking about, so I'm sure that will, I don't know how many times I'll be handed the mic, but that was going to be my first song. But
brave.
Just this morning, right? I was playing music for the girls at breakfast, and there's a remix of LL Cool J's "Knock You Out" that's featured in the Deadpool 2 soundtrack. Yes. And so I figured, and I know all the words, so I think that's good. I don't have to read the monitor; I can just freestyle it. And so I think that's going to be my welcome to Boston intro.
It also prevents you from attempting to hit that high note, which.
Oh, for the Immigrant Song?
Yeah.
I don't have it in me right now because I was coughing this morning. But when this is lubricated with copious amounts of adult beverages, you'll be surprised.
No.
Well,
I'm all set.
The more I drink, the better I sound to myself. So it's for all of me involved.
All right. Well,
Hey, cool kids, don't drink it is bad. Don't smoke.
bad. No, it's bad for all of you guys.
Drugs is bad.
So, thank you, and I apologize to everybody out there. Let's see here. I'm going to run through the notes real quick. There's not too many today. A lot of people just listening and watching. Heidi said
from my alcoholism and lack of Batman knowledge.
Heidi said, "Yay, Batman!" or "Woohoo, Batman trivia." Randy a long time ago said, "Oh, because he's a robot." One of my students, Amy, said, "Woohoo, Boston," and Allison McDonald said, "Speaking of Deadpool, question mark. Yes, Allison, we're going to attempt to try to get together a group for Deadpool, but we're trying to figure out timing. It's not that easy. So,
inside nerd stuff for Deadpool 2. I talked to Randy about this because I talk to Randy every day because we love each other. But I think when you guys were talking last time, we had lamented the different advertising approach that Deadpool took this time as pro to the original, because it was almost a miracle that the first one was released, right? So they had to do kind of guerrilla campaigning. I found out through my nerd sources that they also did a guerrilla campaign this year, but it's really super subtle, and it's kind of, how you break the fourth wall and it's kind of meta. So if you've seen, I think the most recent trailer where there's soccer dad Paul that joins
Peter.
What's it?
It's Peter, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So soccer dad Peter.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, he tried out. That's cute. And then later you see him, jumping out of the plane.
Diving out of the plane. Yeah.
I guess like almost a year ago, they have a Peter Twitter account set up, but they've been beautiful about it. It's been a super subtle advertising campaign, because until this last trailer, you had no idea who Peter was. So it's not like if you search Deadpool, it would come up, and he never mentioned Deadpool in like the last year. But it's kind of subtly, he's always leaving hints that his wife is going to spend time with the personal trainer, and he's going to be in the basement like working out models. So I think they're setting it up that clearly his wife is cheating on him, and he's all but suicidal, or this is what he does like to deal with stress. And so that's why this regular khaki pants guy joins an elite team of superhumans to fight Cable.
Yeah.
But "Pump the Hate Brakes, Thanos" is probably the best line of that trailer.
Not the so dark, must be the DC universe. That would do. All right, I'm pretty sure we could geek out and piss off the whole internet with spoilers. So we should probably sign off now.
Okay, so without giving any spoilers, and you asked
how
my daughters influence me, and vice versa. If we're signing off, we can sign off with this. So clearly, chaotic things happen in the Infinity War, right? And so it worked out where after working all day and then teaching judo, and Lauren was at softball, it worked out where we could both go to see like a late show, and we'll all go on Friday. But she can miss a couple hours of sleep and not be horrible. The other daughters can't. That. So we went to see it, and without throwing her under the bus or giving any spoilers, there's a particular character that she has a little bit of a crush on, right? And things happen to this particular character, and so I'm kind of watching her and right, it was a little tear comes back there. And so the movie's done, and kind of almost like our after action reviews we do in classes, just to generate conversation. Whenever movie's done, I'm like, hey guys, what was your favorite part? So literally, like, we open the door of the theater, she's like, don't even ask me what my favorite part is. I'm still processing again without giving anything. So we're driving back, and she's like, oh man, when this boop boop thing that happened, like I started crying, but I didn't cry, Dad. I stuck that tear back in my eye. I'm like, it's okay, buddy. I was like, dude, if art or movie or this guy's acting is so much that it allows you to feel emotion, that's pretty cool. Why do we? That's why we pay for these things. So you don't have to be ashamed that you cried. Like I cried at Logan. Like. It's like, but it's also pretty cool that you felt that emotion and were able to consciously control it. So no spoilers, but that I want to kind of, you asked me about how my daughters influenced me. That was something that my daughters influenced me. And I think I pulled it off without saying that.
I think that was very tactfully done. You avoided it pretty well. So that's good. So thank you. For the Viodie World, I'm sorry this went for over an hour. That was not originally intended. Kasey likes to talk. I'm pretty sure Rory's will be 22 minutes maximum.
It was to be him mixing a drink. Hey, could you repeat that question? I couldn't hear you over the drink inside of a blender, inside of a wind tunnel that was getting hit by nuclear bombs.
Yeah, if he was messing with Randy on the and everybody out there, you should go watch the listen to the Talking to Savages 50th episode. If he was messing with Randy, I'm pretty sure he's going to screw with me too. So it'll be fun.
So we'll do some role play. You ask me a question, I'll be Rory.
Hey Rory, do you like Violence Dynamics?
I don't know why people call me Whispers.
I'm not calling him Whispers anymore. I'm done with that joke. He is old school. All right.
You should refer
I will.
Never refer to me as anything but old school.
That's a really lifelike impersonation. I'm actually very impressed. Oh yes. We're gonna get our asses kicked in 2 weeks.
I'm super brave when I'm thousands of miles away, right?
Well, technically, you're closer to him than I am. So, all right, I will sign off, and thank you guys all for watching and listening.
Awesome.
Have a great one.
Thank you for your time.
Bye, all.
Give you the creepy eyes on the way out.